Silver Dollar City is an 1880s themed park situated in Branson, Missouri. For numerous reasons, this park has an incredible reputation in the theme park community, and after visiting, I can safely say that I was blown away. Take everything you could ever want in a park: great rides, great food, great ops, great employees, awesome theming, and unreal immersion, and that's basically what you get with Silver Dollar City. One of those things, more specifically, is an awesome roller coaster collection. The park may only offer 7 scream machines, but all of them offer very unique experiences and are amongst the highest quality for their respective ride types. So in this video, I'll be taking all of Silver Dollar City's coasters and we'll rank them up from worst to best. Do know before we dive in that this is all my personal opinion and that you are more than welcome to leave your thoughts on the coasters down in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as it's the best way to show your support to the channel. With that being said, everyone, these are my top 7 roller coasters at Silver Dollar City in Missouri. Number 7, Grand Exposition Coaster. I think this is about the 500th time we've talked about a Zamperla family gravity coaster on this channel. Grand Exposition Coaster is nothing unique whatsoever, and I wouldn't even call it a very good kids ride. But with that being said, I do always appreciate it when a park allows taller guests to get on kiddie coasters with no arbitrary height limitations. What it means is an extra credit for all of us. So shout out Silver Dollar City for that, but yeah, there's definitely better kiddie credits that I've done. Number 6, Fire in the Hole. This was a pretty interesting ride to get on, as it's virtually identical to Blazing Fury at Dollywood, which I wrote about a month earlier. The only major difference is that this one has a splashdown at the end. Yes, you heard that right, a splashdown on a roller coaster dark ride hybrid. Honestly speaking though, Fire in the Hole is enjoyable for what it's worth and is not at all a bad ride to have at the bottom of this list. I wouldn't really say it's worth waiting a long time for, and definitely not for more than one ride on it when you have all these other options in the park. Me personally, I'd say Flooded Mine is more worth your time if you're interested in dark rides, because that thing is really cool and unique. I will say though, it's cool that they have 2 old school dark rides here that you don't see every day in a theme park. So Fire in the Hole is definitely a fun option when you're at Silver Dollar City. Number 5, Thunderation. At first glance, Thunderation is like any other Aero Mine Train coaster. And when I say first glance, I'm talking about through the internet, because you can't see the layout to this ride from anywhere in the park. But I think Thunderation will seriously impress you if you aren't expecting much, because the layout on this thing is secluded in the woods and is completely driven around the terrain. Because of this, the lift hill is actually going to be at the end of the ride rather than the beginning like a lot of the other Mine Train coasters. Also, big ups to this ride for having a killer finale. After that lift hill, you have a pretty massive drop that takes you up into the brakes. The fact that there's that to look forward to at the end after all of the kick-ass layout is awesome. Thunderation definitely gets a thumbs up in my book, and you know, it's not very smooth, but I think the layout more than makes up for that. Number 4, Powder Keg. This is definitely up there as one of the more bizarre roller coasters I've ever ridden. It started its life as a Premier Rides water coaster known as Buzzsaw Falls, an extinct coaster model that has only had 2 of its kind ever built. Powder Keg would later be transformed into a compressed air launch coaster by S&S, however, which is weird because those 2 coasters couldn't be any more different from one another. By leaving a lot of the same track left over from Buzzsaw Falls, Powder Keg was able to continue onto that layout with a powerful launch, airtime-filled camelbacks, and strangely enough, a lift hill at the end. That means that this ride has both a launch and a lift hill, which is pretty unusual for a roller coaster in itself. It also happens to have the same restraints as the S&S Scream and Swing flat rides, which again is odd because this is the only coaster in the world with those incorporated into it. Oh, and did I mention there's a switch track? Yeah, when it comes to talking about Powder Keg and how unordinary it is, the conversation really never ends. This is a super cool ride though, don't get me wrong. It's also very intense and has plenty of good positive and negative G-force moments. I do think it could afford to be a bit longer after the lift hill, but nitpicks aside, this is a credit that I'm really grateful to have jotted down on my coaster count. I would definitely recommend a ride on Powder Keg, especially in the front row. Number 3, Wildfire. Sure, it's not Kumba level, sure, it's not Hulk level, but comparisons aside, Wildfire is incredibly underrated. It seems to get immensely overshadowed by other rides of its kind, which is ironic because I think Wildfire is amongst the best B&M looping coasters out there. Starting with the setting and terrain usage, one of the most prominent things about the roller coaster. The views you get atop of the lift hill and on the exit bridge are flat out amazing and really makes the ride a full package. As for the layout, there is not a single dead spot that I found on Wildfire. If you are in the back row, the straight drop will provide fantastic sustained airtime, and throughout the course there are a couple points of sustained grail moments. Also, this ride keeps up a great pace and doesn't let up at all until you hit the final brake run. So I'm not sure why Wildfire is so slept on in this community, but you've heard it here first that relative to other B&M coasters, this ride is phenomenal. Number 2, Time Traveler. For many people, this is the number 1 ride in the park, and that is something I can definitely respect. I find that Time Traveler is one of the most purely fun and enjoyable roller coasters I may have ever ridden. The coaster model is known as the Mock Ride's Extreme Spinning Coaster, and while just 2 exist at the moment, this was the first and original. And I really don't think people knew what to expect here, as this spinning technology could not work better with Time Traveler's immaculate layout. Since the whole thing is built around a terrain, you start with a vertical drop out of the station. This element is a 10 out of 10 drop for me in the back row. Then throughout the rest of the ride, you have a plethora of inversions and even a couple of ejector airtime pops, all while backwards, sideways, slantways, whatever it may be. And what I love is it's not like the spinning is disorienting either, it's actually perfect in that it puts you in the position to take certain elements while facing directions you've never experienced these elements in before. Also, the theming might be worth mentioning also. Silver Dollar City decked this ride out in awesome clockwork theming, and it's just so cool to me. This theming is especially evident in the station, and the visuals here with the gears above you and the trains being some of the most highly detailed trains ever make it an immersive package. I don't think there's really anything I could change about Time Traveler to make it better. For what this ride is trying to achieve, I think it's an absolutely perfect 10 out of 10 roller coaster. Number 1, Outlaw Run. Narrowly beating out Time Traveler is a ride that I fell in love with right after my first ride. This RMC topper wooden coaster is best known for being the only wooden roller coaster that inverts riders 3 times. And while people sometimes knock RMC's topper design for feeling unlike other wooden coasters, I'd probably say I agree and disagree. Because the layout is so powerful and aggressive, it's going to be unlike what you've ridden elsewhere with other wooden coasters, but on the contrary, it does have that wooden coaster bite to it, which is actually unlike other RMCs in general. The way this coaster rides combined with its aggressive nature is something that I could not get enough of personally. Also, a lot of other RMC coasters focus on back-to-back elements in rapid succession, but Outlaw Run is kind of different. This ride's main focus is to rip through certain elements harder than anything else, but less in rapid succession, if that makes any sense. So in that regard, this ride is relentless in a very different way than most other roller coasters. But differences aside, what a ride this is. I can't exactly say it's one of my top RMCs like a lot of people, but it is definitely in my top 20 overall roller coasters list. Outlaw Run is amazing for its impeccable layout and serious aggression, and I hope you all get the chance to experience it at some point. So there we have it, all 7 roller coasters at Silver Dollar City stacked up against each other. At this point in time, I should not have to recommend this park to you guys any more than I already have. You genuinely need to head out there for the dozens of reasons that weren't even discussed in this video, and also the incredible roller coaster collection that we've talked about. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.